So, I just wanted to talk to everybody for just a little bit about some GMO news that I read earlier. I actually read through the news every day, and I say through because it's mainstream media, and you almost have to read through it. But anyway, and I read through it kind of like old ladies read through coupon ads, so I'm pretty meticulous about the bajillion and a half alerts that I get every day on different topics. And today I seem to get quite a bit of genetically modified news. And the first thing that popped up had to do with a natural news article regarding a USDA approved crop of genetically modified rice that's being spliced with human genes. So, just before I even get into that, I just have to ask you, and I'm not trying to get into a big, when human life starts abortion argument with everybody on YouTube, but I have to ask, if you eat rice that's been spliced with human genes, is that not like you're a cannibal? I mean, is the banjo music not playing somewhere when that happens? Because, that is just disgusting. And honestly, this article talks about how this rice is growing on 3,200 acres of land in Junction City, Kansas, and that it's USDA approved for a study to be used for pharmaceutical purposes. So it's not something that people are supposed to eat. However, that being said, it's 3,200 acres in the middle of Kansas somewhere, okay? I'm pretty sure it's not like the Fort Knox of acres, okay? So, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Kashi letter that came out. A lot of people are really angry at Kashi because it's a food company that makes a lot of nationally known products that are supposed to be, they're touted as organic and natural, and I don't eat a lot of Kashi. I don't eat Kashi at all, but people are getting really angry because they found out that a lot of Kashi cereals are actually made with GMO. And the guy who wrote the letter on behalf of Kashi said, well, it's not really our fault. We didn't know, and only 1% of all the crops grown in the United States are even organic anyway, and it's the farmer's fault, and cross-pollination, and pollen on the wind, and blah, blah, blah. But I have to say, if you're not testing for it, then you wouldn't know. Because the only way to know is if they do tests for genes, like genetically modified traits. So he almost has a valid argument in a way. Kind of not. You really can't go around saying, look at my organic, natural products that really aren't organic or natural. So going back to the whole rice with the human genes, they're going to splice it with liver genes. It's supposed to only be used for pharmaceuticals, but cross-pollination and the wind and all the stuff the Kashi guy said, could it not then potentially follow that you might at some point, unbeknownst to yourself, be eating human rice? Because that is just nasty. It really is. And the other thing having to do with that I read today had to do with the fact that Monsanto didn't get approval for some of their genetically altered alfalfa until 2005, but letters have actually surfaced that they started planting that stuff in 2003. And apparently the USDA turned a blind eye to the situation. So, and I'll post all these links below so you can go check it out for yourself. And it wasn't even deregulated till 2005, but they planted it in 2003, and it basically allowed for a widespread GMO cross-contamination. So when you go back to the creepy human frankenrice, this is the only known genetically modified food crop that's being grown in the United States, but like I said, it's the only known one. And it's USDA approved, but then you go back to these articles where they knew about things years in advance before they ever deregulated them, and they let that stuff just be all out there. So it really does stand to reason. It's not too far of a mental leap to think to yourself, okay, what else is out there that's weird, funky, mutant splicages of food that's just out in some field somewhere, and the USDA is blind-eyeing that too. I mean, it stands to reason, and it's not too hard to make that leap for me. And when I think about these things, it boggles my mind that people are doing this, and I don't know what they tell themselves that makes it okay. These things took millions of years for nature to make. Are we really that powerful, that intelligent, that all-encompassing, that we can just come up with our little science lab kit and our millions of lobbyist dollars and make all this franken creepiness and just plant it on out there and hope for the best? Because we're just so infallible, right? And everything's so okay. I mean, personally, I don't want to be turned into an involuntary cannibal because of the creepy freaks at Monsanto. That may just be me, but I'm not cool with this. And it kind of brings me back to, there were a lot of stories today about California's right to know legislation that's going through the whole right to know initiative. They got almost 1 million signatures in this state to get this on the ballot, and really all they're saying is, look, we just want to know. We just want to know what we're eating. If you're putting all kind of weird, creepy, funky, science experiment food in our stuff that we put inside of our bodies, then we just want to know that. And I honestly, the fact that we have to even fight for that right, I mean, I don't live in California, so I don't even get that privilege. I mean, I live in Missouri. We're way behind on a lot of things. But I think the fact that we even have to fight for the right to know what we're eating it's crazy to me that we're to that level. And we've been there for a long time. But it's just insane that they can put all this kind of weird funkiness in our food, and we actually have to go out and petition just to know what that is when we buy it. When I buy a couch, I don't expect to also get a dog. I expect it to just be a couch. And if a dog shows up in the couch, then, I mean, I feel like I might have had the right to know that dog was in there. I mean, that just makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is I go to the store, I take a box off the shelf, and it says it's crackers, and I think, okay, it's crackers, and I turn it over and I look at the ingredients, and most of them I can pronounce at least. And that should really just be the end of it. It shouldn't be, I take a box off the shelf, and I turn it over, and it tells me what's in it, and then when I actually eat it, oh, by the way, here's like 10 other really weird, funky things that may or may not cause organ failure and sterility and cancer in all of the animal tests that have been done on it. And it may or may not be causing colony collapse disorder and killing off bees everywhere. And it may or may not have some kind of ramification on you that you did not realize is accumulative and will hurt your health 10 years from now when I just buy some freaking crackers. Okay?